Good morning, beautiful people. It is Thursday, June 18th, 2020. Big show today. Michael Lombardi joins us in the first hour to talk a little bit AFL, a little bit NFL. A man who was previously a general manager for the Cleveland Browns. He was a scout. He was an assistant to the coach. He was an assistant coach. He was a recruiting coordinator. Michael Lombardi, who knows everything about the NFL, will join us in this hour. We can't wait to chat with him. Some locks in the AFL, too, because he's a big Australian rules football gambler, as are all of we. And Bill Polian, Hall of Fame general manager, will be joining us in the second hour. He was the man who drafted me to become an Indianapolis Colts, so I'm very thankful for that. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go easy on him. He has a new podcast, Inside Football with Bill Polian, which is, I'd assume, a great listen. We have not listened to it yet. I will give it a go. That guy has forgotten more football than most people have ever learned in their entire life. Built up the Buffalo Bills, the Carolina Panthers, and the Indianapolis Colts organization, but he was also a part of that year where we won 2-14. You know, and I have some questions for his mindset going into that year, because everybody outside of our building was like, they're doing a suck for luck campaign. They're doing a suck for luck campaign. And it sure felt like it a couple times during that year. Now, granted, I was trying to kick a ball good because I wanted to get rich, but it sure felt like there were some decisions being made where it was like, what's going on? But if Bill Polian was doing the suck for luck campaign, did he know he was going to get fired immediately after that season? All the coaches are going to get fired. We're going to restart. I don't know. I want to know what his mindset going into that year was. And did he know that was going to be his final year being a general manager in the NFL after like 70 years of doing it? That's no exaggeration. He might have been a general manager in the NFL for 70 years. The NFL 100-year celebration. We'd also like to celebrate a guy who's been a general manager in the NFL for 70% of this league's existence, Bill Polian. I was invited to his Hall of Fame induction, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, me, Vinatieri, Reggie. I forget, there was only a couple of us that were still on the team whenever he went into the Hall of Fame, and we weren't allowed to go.
Wait, why is that?
Well, it was during camp, obviously, but it was, I think Irsay was potentially going to offer up his jet to take us there and take us back. We were not allowed to go because it was a distraction to the current team. current management.
That's very interesting.
Interesting.
Oh, it was. Yeah. It was very interesting. I wasn't a part of any of those conversations. I was like, I think we should go. Like, I mean, I've never been to one of these. I've heard it's a great time. We're in the middle of training camp. I would like to go to this. Is this something we could do? And Vinatieri's like, this sounds like a bad idea. Like, this sounds like it's going to be. And turned out, he was right. He was spot on. Even approaching the subject was a bit interesting. And the equipment managers.
Oh, your headphones to the left right there. It's getting a little feedback there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just speak. You know, you're giving me these hand signals. It seems like you're doing like air traffic control over there. And Zito, you're very good at what you do, but I had no idea what you were doing there. You were just doing a jumping jack in the background while I was speaking. A little bit distracting, but even better that we got the problem fixed because it was whistling in the background. But even the equipment managers, there were some athletic trainers that were invited. We were all going to go. I think we were all going to go. And then we were told that that's probably not a good idea.
Oh, that's interesting.
That'd have been cool, too, seeing the guy who drafted you, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, probably would have been on the cast, too, because we would have been clapping. He would have said, like, thank you to the Indianapolis Colts staff, and I would have just been able to poke my head in there at the end. And while he gave his speech, by the way, he talked about all the people he had drafted that would go on to become great and how thankful he was. I want to ask him how close my name was to you. Was my name ever thought about being in that speech of yours? Because he told me to my face afterwards that he did last minute think about putting me in there because he felt bad. And I was like, I don't care if you feel bad or not. I'll get a pity shout out during the Hall of Fame speech for sure. I mean, that is no problem at all. Can't wait to talk to him in the second hour. This morning, though, if you're like us, at Nick Moraldo, at Tone Diggs, Ty Schmidt, Jason McAfee, Viva Lazito, at Evan Foxy, Red Wing Stink. And on the phones, 1-833-622-3331, at Boston Connor, rocking an Elon Musk headband. What's going on, bub?
Brand new, just cut the sweater yesterday, had to do it. And I mean, I think it turned out pretty well.
There's some interesting stories coming out about Elon Musk and his penis. So really? Johnny Depp is alleging that Amber Heard cheated on him to do a threesome with Cara Delevingne.
Oh, Delevingne, of course.
And the alien Elon Musk, who's probably swinging a hammer. So that's what Johnny Depp said, that Amber Heard cheated on him to go have sex with another woman and Elon Musk. So Elon Musk, really topical. I watched him last night on Jay Leno's Car Garage. Great show, by the way.
Yeah.
We're there in season 5 right now, episode 13, and I didn't know it existed until now. I'm loving that show. Absolutely loving that show, especially as somebody who has purchased a lot of vehicles. I don't know enough about them to ever go on that show because they really talk like
engines,
cars
and
stuff.
Like I don't know any of that stuff, but I do know that last night John Hamm drove a Mercedes-Benz that was worth $1.5 million. Jeez. It was just wide open too, and Jay's like, yeah, do your thing. Jay Leno, super Italian guy, but Elon Musk was on there with the Cybertruck.
Oh yeah, how'd it look, huh?
It looked good, drove well. I mean, they went through all of his cars. All the cars that he has created at Tesla.
Yeah.
And all the things that he has done, it's just so mind-blowing whenever you compare them to the other cars that are being created on Jay Leno's Car Garage you talked about. Like the doors that he had that started to go butterfly doors, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, there's a sensor on there too. So you can park within 2 inches of somebody and the door will go up and then it'll go out. And if it feels that there isn't a car there, it'll just go out by itself. And it's like, damn, like how does this guy figure this out when people have been making cars for so long? Because he's an alien, and Amber Heard had sex with him and allegedly. So good for you, good headband. I hope some of him, maybe osmosis is through that skull.
I hope too, but I mean, look at me.
What's on the board?
The Richmond Tigers stink.
They do. Wow. So those that don't know, this morning when you woke up, there was an AFL game on ESPN2. I believe this ESPN relationship is going to be a good one for all of us because they're very easy to find. The game is on ESPN2 this morning. I thought it was potentially on Fox Sports 1. It was on ESPN2 this morning. I wake up, a little bit of a blowout for the Hawthorne Hawks over the Richmond Tigers. Richmond Tigers defending champs. Going into the season, they took on Collingwood in the first game back in round 2. A nice introduction back to the AFL for us. Our real first experience with the AFL round 2. Collingwood Magpies. This is their jersey, by the way. Shout out for the new kit. Collingwood. And they sent me a Sharon from Australia. Came fully inflated. This didn't go quarter mile. We'll probably be kicking that this afternoon. The Mason Cox, friend of ours, the only American to ever be successful in the AFL. He's on the Collingwood Magpies, so my allegiance is to them. They were playing the Richmond Tigers. Dusty Martin, another legend over there. Opening game was supposed to be his big game. They ended up having a draw, 36-36. All of Australia was mad about it. They're like, wasn't a good game, mate. Like the shortened quarters, the rust, they'll get back into it, okay? So I was like, I love the game. It was a close game. It was intense. This week, Richmond Tigers back at it, 5:40 a.m. on a Thursday, leading off now round 3, I believe this is considered. Leading off round 3. And they just laid an egg. Dusty was not playing. The returning champs, the Richmond Tigers, what have they been doing during the quarantine? I'll tell you what they haven't been doing. They haven't been kicking the ball. Guy missed a 15-meter kick. Listen, I've missed kicks before, very short kicks. I've shanked balls before. This is my first time watching like a real missed botch kick. It looks bad. Like the way the camera is set up on the whole thing, I mean, it looks bad. They had a bad morning. Will the Richmond Tigers be able to figure it out? Will they be able to get back on board? Who cares? Collingwood plays this weekend against St. Kilda. I do love waking up to this thing in the background. It's awesome. Because you take a shower, then you poke your head in. Oh, 2 Australian dudes just killed each other. All right, let's go back here. Oh, big kick just happened. Then you look at the score. You're like, damn, Richmond Tigers are just getting ponded out. You got to feel good, Diggs, though, as a Geelong Cats fan, because not only do you hate Americans that are in the game, Mason Cox, but now you found a team that you think is really good for you, and they beat the hell out of a team that just beat the hell out of the champions. You got to feel real good down there.
Yeah, I assume, naturally that they're probably going to win the championship. And by the way, for your Magpies, they are on FS1 at 2:35 a.m. on Saturday.
I'll be up for it. Everybody knows I'm up for it. I already set the alarm.
Yep.
I'm not going to watch that one live. That one's going to be a DVR. That's going to be a DVR situation for sure. But I will watch the game. These are my Magpies. I'll go to kit.
Yeah, Geelong has not sent me any kits or anything like that, but they did set me up with their DirecTV NFL package so that I could watch the Geelong Cats at any time.
You did feel a bit salty this morning that the Collingwood Magpies sent me an entire kit. Now, I don't know if Foxy, do you have the photo? Do we have the photo that I posted? We can find the photo.
Zeetwell.
The Collingwood Magpies sent me a kit this morning, full thing. I mean, I got a scarf. I got a polo for whenever we're traveling game to game. I obviously got this Guernsey. These people have a lot of money. If they want to get a little shine on my show, they can, but that ain't going to be free. And but it is right there, I guess. But the shorts were potentially created 120 years ago for me to get. Like, people were saying that that's potentially what it is. Good look for the thighs there, obviously. If you want to zoom in, you can. But the Guernsey is next level. And I'm very proud to be a member of the Magpies. But Diggs, the Geelong Cats haven't sent you jack squat. I believe they haven't even really mentioned you aside from that Steelers thing. I think they don't want you to be a fan. I would assume that if you want to barrack for the Collingwood Magpies, we would welcome you with open arms over here.
Nah, I'm not going to jump ship. I don't do things like that. But no, and I'm a man of the Geelong Cats, and I support them. So I went to the website and I ordered a shirt. It just hasn't been fulfilled yet.
You mean a kit?
Yeah, but he was a bit
No, it was a shirt.
It was a shirt.
T-shirt?
He got a shirt. Did you get a jersey?
No, I'm not. I mean, I don't play for the team, so.
So you just got a
He
Go
just got
Cats
like
t-shirt.
go Geelong Cats, go.
I'm not a jersey guy.
Well, are you a Guernsey guy? Because that's what these are called.
No, I don't have arms, so.
Well, we can work on that. You got good tats. And by the way, the AFL is going to make you finish your entire sleeve of tattoos.
Oh,
I
yeah,
believe.
for sure.
A lot of
100%.
tats on those dudes over there. But the Geelong Cats, I don't think they appreciate your fanhood. So that's
No, they do.
No, that's something you should think about tonight.
No, they
maybe,
do.
Yeah, maybe take some vitamins and be like, you know what, the team that I like on the other side of the earth, they don't even like me.
I'm actually okay with that, actually.
You also have tons of jerseys.
Tons.
What do you mean?
You have a bunch of soccer kits. You
Yeah, I don't
have,
wear them.
a
Have you ever
bunch
seen
of baseball.
me?
Yeah,
You ever seen me wear them?
yeah, you wore them.
Yeah, when?
You wore a Barry Bonds jersey later.
Yeah, you had the Pirates jersey on for baseball.
Feels like you're getting a bit defensive, but feels like you're not a real.
When there's lies, I got to protect myself.
I don't think you're a Geelong Cats fan. I don't think
I
you're
am a
truly.
huge
I don't think you're truly a Geelong
no.
Cats fan.
I mean, I have the DMs to prove it.
No,
that
so it's
doesn't
private.
count.
It's
In
private.
the dark.
It's private, yeah.
They only let you love them in the dark.
Correct.
Oh, mistress team.
Wow.
You wouldn't want me
about that?
cheering for you either.
Oh, jeez. What a dumb show. The MLB, speaking of dumb. Something funny there? I mean, there was quite a sneeze right into the microphone there. It sounded like.
So I did not mean to do it in the microphone, but
The,
yes.
the Rob Manfred situation with the MLB was super drama. By the way, AFL all weekend. Check it out. Wake up with it, go to bed with it. It's worth it. It's a live action sport happening right now with a lot of physicality. It's intense. There's talent. I mean, it's awesome. I'm going to be 100%. It is awesome. Now, Am I going to continue to watch this whenever the football season happens? Yes. You know why? Because it's at 6 a.m. in the morning when I wake up, and it's at 11:30 at night when I go to bed. So it's not interfering with anything. It's actually in those times where you have nothing to watch. So it's like, let me go ahead and pop on these mates. Just go ahead and kangarooing each other right in the back in the faces. I mean, did that a little bit too stereotypical there going with the kangaroo thing. But whenever they jump up on each other's back, it does look like a couple kangaroos out there scrapping it out in the safari.
And there is a team that is the Kangaroos, so you were talking about a specific team.
Speaking of a team, St. Kilda Saints got no shot this weekend against Magpies. Magpies coming fresh off a draw. I don't know if big 6'10" Coxzilla is back or not, but they're going to need him. But last night, once again, another day riddled with drama for the MLB and the MLBPA. It was reported last night on 2 different occasions by 2 or 4 different people that the MLB and the MLBPA have come to an agreement. That was not true at all. Then there was a follow-up that they haven't come to an agreement. And Rob Manfred put out a statement that said, at my request, is what he said. At my request. Congratulations, Rob Manfred. You're the commissioner of a league that is potentially going under. I'm happy you made a request to have a conversation with the other side to potentially save your sport. Congratulations. At my request. Not Tony Clark's, okay? Not Trevor Bauer, not Buster Olney or Jet Passon. At my request, okay? Yeah, we're weeks late on this. Yeah, we haven't been negotiating, but I want to let you know, at my request, Tony Clark and I met for several hours yesterday in Phoenix. We left that meeting with a jointly developed framework that we agree could form the basis of an agreement in subject to conversations with our respective constituents. I summarized that framework numerous times in a meeting and sent Tony a written summary today. Consistent with our conversations yesterday, I am encouraging the clubs to move forward, and I trust Tony is doing the same. Okay, so a lot of just like backhanded, just in that one statement there, a lot of legalese, right? A lot of BS that doesn't mean anything to anybody. Let me fill in words here to make it sound like we agreed to a potential agreement. It's like, well, then you didn't agree, by the way. That is just not what happened. But then the backhanded compliment is I summarized that framework for dumbass Tony, okay, multiple times. And then now we are hoping that he's taking that information back and the baseball is going to take back this thing. And the report is that what was potentially frameworked numerous times in the meeting to Tony was a 60-game schedule. Now, is that what it was? 60?
Yeah.
Yes. A 60-game schedule. The players have held firm that they want a fully prorated salary. The MLB has held firm on, if you want a fully prorated salary, we're probably going to have 48 to 50 games. So them coming up to 60 games, I guess it is better than where they were on the prorated salary if you're in the players' eyes. But the players have said, has even said on this show, Kevin Youkilis, legend, said, if it's not 80 games, it's not even a conversation. This isn't really baseball. So now that they're at 60, which isn't that much movement, and the difference now between 60 and 70 games is $250 million. That's the $245 million is the difference here. If the players stay firm on 70 games and the MLB decides to come up to 70 games, it'll be an extra $245 million cost to the MLB teams, all of them, all together, not just individual teams, all of them all together. So if you're the MLBPA, Tony Clark, which I assume he laid out numerous times to that stooge Rob Manfred in their meeting on Tuesday, he should have came in there just like Pawn Stars and said, we're holding firm at 80 games. This is what we're doing at 80 games. If you want 70 games, you got to say 80 games. I would assume that they eventually move up to 65 or 70 if they want to get this thing done, but it has to happen fast. And I think in that statement that Rob Manfred released there, you could see how big of a hole of an ass he is just in a couple of the, at my request. Okay, hero, way to go. You're the commissioner of the league. You're having conversations with the players in the middle of a negotiation and a bargaining. Way to go. Congratulations at your request. And then as I laid out numerous times to Tony, it's like, well, maybe he had to lay it out numerous times because Tony was like, well, we're not doing that. Well, let me go. I'll speak slower so you can understand. We are going to do 60 games, fully prorated salary. That is what you want. We start here, we end here. We have this playoff thing. And Tony's like, yeah, that's not what we're going to do. Okay, let me say it this way. So we're going to do 10 more than 50 games, 10 less than 70 games. We're going to do that. We'll start at this point, fully prorated salary. Tony's like, yeah, you just said the same thing. Let me rephrase that. Sorry. We will do less than half of a season. We will do more than what we were previously offering, but it will be fully prorated salary. And Tony Clark said, yeah, you just said the same thing. So how many times could he have laid it out numerous times? What does that even mean? Nothing. It means nothing. It means they don't have an agreement, but I guess they're 12 games better than where they were in the players' eyes. Don't think it's enough for them to budge. They're going to have to move. That's what Buster only said this morning on Get Up.
Yes.
Is this really about the money at all then? Like, I mean, there's no way that these guys can't come up with $250 million to get this done. Or is it just at this point like, hey, we can't lose. We can't lose this negotiation. We've held firm this long. We can't, make any concessions.
Yeah, if you publicly, if you go to 70 games, which would be 10 less than what the players actually want, and you view that as a loss, that's interesting. Like in business and negotiations, that's why whenever everything goes public, it's kind of garbage because there's going to be a give and take. You're going to lose. It's just like whenever practice film comes out of players, we talked about this the other day, who are working on something, like you're going to get got sometimes. But in business, every once in a while, you have to give up something that you really want so you can get something in return and vice versa. Like that's how business works. So whenever it all gets aired out publicly, now you're in a position to see who won, who lost this thing. It's like, well, if it's 70 games prorated salary, did the players win? I guess because they got full prorated salary in 70 games. Did the MLB win because their season in their league hasn't had gone tank into complete crap? Yeah, I think they've won as well. So if they're viewing it as a loss, I think that is a very small-minded idea and frame. But we're talking about very rich people who have been very successful for a long time and probably don't like people standing up to their authority at all. And that's what it feels like the MLB is currently doing. But I don't know if they're going to have a season. I have no idea. I assume they will. Everybody said yes. It's just how many games. And at this point, I'm pumped for baseball to start. But I've enjoyed baseball business a lot more than the sport of baseball here. Now, I've enjoyed the drama, the reality TV of this whole thing a lot more than the actual sport of baseball. But I'm getting tired of speaking about the drama of baseball. But it's so damn interesting because you're literally watching things that you don't normally get to see just get dragged out in the media eyes. And what we learned the other day from David Sampson is a lot of this stuff that the MLB is reporting, like this morning, Jet Passan had to come out and say, like, the reports that an agreement has been made, because the MLB came out and tweeted, they were basically like, we have reached an agreement or whatever. The players were like, that is not true. So the MLB yet again fell back on their tactic that they always do, which is release things publicly, see the reaction, and then adjust to it accordingly. Them saying that they reached an agreement is putting more pressure on the players because when the players go, no, that's not true, they have completely flipped the when and where thing then if the MLB pushes it. But this is a tactic that the MLB uses on a very regular basis. We got a chance to talk to a guy who was a former president of the Marlins for 18 years. By the way, electric factory, this guy. He just goes nuts. And this is the first time I've ever called somebody a scumbag. But listen to this whenever you hear about how the MLB works the media and uses them and stuff. I've been told that the MLB will float out a proposal that they haven't officially made yet to the media, see how the people respond, and then they're like, okay, good, this one's fucking good, let's write it down, we'll send this over as an actual proposal. Is that something that the MLB has done for a long, long time now? Is that kind of the move?
That was on
So what we would do is we would float, when we wanted to sign a player, we would float it out there to see what sort of reaction we get to a certain player, whether it may move the revenue needle. If we were going to trade a player, we would start floating out, listen, this may not be the best teammate. We may have a clubhouse issue, so we could try to ease the pain when we're making a trade because of money. When we're doing some sort of promotion, we would float out there an idea that we had. From a labor standpoint, what you are using the media for is not that you're trying to see what the public, I hate to say this, but by the way, Tony Clark and Rob Manfred, the owners and the players, it doesn't matter to them whether or not the public is on their side. What the leaks are for actually is so that the other side gets wind of what's coming in advance so they can start working their own constituencies as they try to gain momentum toward an agreement. Because having the public, as Trevor Bauer said, it should all be done in private. I wish that he would stop tweeting and everybody would stop tweeting about it and being so angry with one another. Why can't we all just get along, for Christ's sake?
Well, because you were a scumbag leaking information that was a lie about a guy because you wanted to cut him because he was worth money and you wanted him to be a bad clubhouse guy. That's why we can't all get along. So there he literally just said, Like that's a 6-minute clip, by the way, that we have cut up and put on the internet, and it's on our social media. And it was so eye-opening because you always assume this type of thing if you're in sports. And I'm not 100% sure if fans ever assume this. And I think this is more of a society thing now. Anytime anybody says anything about anything, you have to wonder who's giving them the information, why are they giving them that information, and who ultimately is going to be rewarded by this in the end. Him coming out and saying like, oh yeah, we would leak information that a guy's a bad clubhouse guy and he's not fitting in if we're trying to trade him so that fans don't maybe get mad at the club for trading. I mean, that is just, I mean, scumbag move, which he owned, by the way. I just want to let you know, David Sampson, he very much owned that. He even said there, I didn't create this. I mean, this is just something that you had to do. But whenever you hear that, and then you hear the way this is all airing out in public, and then you can assume every other league's doing the same, it's like, damn, you can't trust anything that anybody's saying anymore because it's all for an agenda at the end of the day.
My brain doesn't know what to do.
Well, yeah, it's like who's giving me the information, and then whenever you see people start tweeting like, oh, this person's name is on the list for general manager at this person, it's like, oh, so did that person give that person information in the past, or is that person's name actual on the general? You can't really trust anything anymore, knowing that a guy who was a president of a club just told you, oh yeah, for 18 years we just leaked stuff that wasn't true just to hopefully be able to work the system a little bit. It's like, damn, who else is doing that? Is Tony Fauci doing that? Whoa. Oh! 22 minutes after the hour. I feel like Tony Fauci's potentially working for the NHL or something like that.
Probably is.
You know what I mean? He's working for the NHL. Maybe.
I don't hate it.
Maybe he's working with Rob Manfred. I don't know. He said, there's no way football comes back, is what Tony Fauci said. I'll tell you what, Tony Fauci, I'm sure that in the medical community you are beloved and really smart and stuff like that. You pissed off a lot of people this morning.
Yep.
I don't even know if he knew what he was stepping into
Talk
at that
to him
point.
at the next meeting.
Hey, who, you at the Italian meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, will you guys get him straightened out?
Yeah, that's not. It wasn't part of the minutes that I was reading.
Hey, Dan, Paisan, listen up. I know you've been running this game like 35, 40 years, whatever it's been, 50, however many. I mean, you do have ties to the certain things that haven't made great decisions. We understand that, but you cannot be coming out here and saying that football isn't going to happen. I just want to let you know, Tone. You can talk all the vaccine stuff you want to do and do whatever titty curve you want to kind of call that. You can do all that. But don't you, Fauci, come out and say there's no way it's going to happen. I mean, maybe you're right, but I don't want to hear it.
None of us do.
I don't want to hear that right now, Tone. Don't need to hear that. 23 minutes after the hour, we got to get to a break. Michael Lombardi will join us in a few. Not a bad Thursday, June 18th here. Can't wait for sports to start back up because the NFL is back, and every morning I get just like, oh, here we go. And then I sit in this chair and I'm like, Tony Clark and Rob Manfred sat down with their lawyers. Dak Prescott still hasn't signed his franchise tag. Whoa! Let's get back to sports talk. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Side they stick together to uphold the Magpie's name. See the barricades are shouting as all barricades should. Oh, the premiership's a cakewalk from a good old Collingwood.
Let's get it. Let's go. Dream house is a tour bus. Scream loud that you knew us. Deep down, I'm the new plug. You ain't about to get too dust. Pete's frown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the two subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Lead the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body. 210s, both sitting shoddy. Crack a fifth, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. That's Uncle Sam, but without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is 30? Hand me a nap. You probably wasn't expecting this. What expected?
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Joining us now is a man who has held every single position in the football world. Also a guy, low-key, did not know this, massive Aussie Rules football fan. Ladies and gentlemen, friend of the show, Paisan, Michael Lombardi.
I'm also a big fan of your jumper. I really am. I'm a big fan of your jumper. But Aussie football, man, I'm going to tell you what, Aussie football is tremendous. I can't get enough of it.
Michael, when you told me that you went down under, was it last year or this year? When did you?
I was down there last summer. The Essendon team brought me down there for a visit. So I went down there, and it was really kind of fun. I spent time consulting with them. I got to meet them. But it goes further than that. I do a radio show down there in Melbourne. Gary and Tim Watson, Gary Lyons and Tim Watson, both former players. They had me on. They read Gridiron Genius. They liked the book. They had me on. And then we had kind of developed a friendship. And so somebody at Essendon, Xavier Campbell, the president of the team, heard me on the radio, asked me to come down and consult with them. So they flew me down there. I spent a week at the end of July. It was tremendous. I was in Melbourne. I got to go to the cricket stadium, Melbourne Cricket Club, which was incredible. You could actually take a leak and see the field from the stadium. It was
brilliant. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Let's talk about this. You have to be the only guy who's ever been an NFL general manager, a recruiting coordinator at a school, a scout, an assistant to a coach, an author, New York Times bestseller, and an AFL consultant. I mean, you have an insane resume right now, Mr. Lombardi.
And I get to be on your show, which is even more fun than anything. I got all those guys in the Collinswood uniform. Now, I will tell you this. So I'm in Vegas this year. This is a great story. So I was in Vegas, and one of the best coaches in the AFL was a man by the name of Alistair Clarkson. He coaches the Hawthorne Hawks.
Okay.
He is the Bill Belichick of the AFL.
Oh,
He's won 2 titles. Everybody, he's the best coach in the conference. And so he meets me in Las Vegas. And we watched the NBA game together. Last year we watched the Toronto game together. And he's like, mate, what are you going to do tomorrow? I said, well, I'm going back to Philadelphia. He says, I'll fly back with you.
So you guys just hop on a plane together, go ahead and take a trip back to Philly?
The next thing I know, he's at my hotel at 5:30 in the morning. We're flying, and then we fly back to Philly. And I say, what are you going to do? He said, well, he's friends with Brett Brown, because Brett Brown's a big Melbourne guy, right? The head coach of the 76ers. And I'm like, don't you cold call Brett Brown. You just can't show up at his doorstep. Like, you got to call him and tell him, right?
No, he didn't.
So he can't get a meeting with Brett Brown. Next thing I know, at my door here, I have a porch door that goes to my porch from my office. He's knocking on it at 7:30 in the morning. He's at my door, and he wants to spend more time talking. And then he drives up to Asbury Park. He does the Springsteen tour in Asbury Park, goes to the Stone Pony, walks on the boardwalk, does the Springsteen thing. Then he gets 7 o'clock that night. He flies back to L.A. and then back to Melbourne. That was how he spent his bye week.
See, that's a guy that I would like to be friends with right there. Just, hey, I'll go to Philly.
You would love Clarkie.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Australians, by the way, I would love. I think I love their mentality. There's the thighs that you speak of, by the way. Absolutely yoked. I'm sure your scouting department saw those.
Thighs. I mean, Jesus, God, it's impressive, right? I mean, that I could see why your jumper's really clicking lately. I could see it, the spring in there. That's where you get all the power from. I get it.
Wait until I shave those things and tan them up, too. This summer, they're going to be looking.
There's a perfect opportunity for Manscaped right there.
100% right. The Lawnmower 3.0. When I watch the AFL, and there's a lot of, there's a lot of collisions. There's a lot of big catches, though. How come you think, like, Aussies have come over and punted? Do you think you're going to see a time, though, where there's a potential, like, hey, there's some guys down there that could be tight ends, I'd assume, in football. Now, I don't know how much they know about leverage and be able to figure out the sport of football, but there's some guys who go up there and get it and aren't scared of contact. I'm surprised that there hasn't been more kind of conversation between NFL, AFL players.
They don't understand they like our game. They watch our game religiously down there. They love it. They watch it Monday morning when it's their time. 1 o'clock Sunday is 12 o'clock at night for them the next day. So they watch it religiously. But and they're trained, Pat. I mean, people don't realize how much running an Aussie rules football guy does. He might run 13 miles in a game. I mean, that field is enormous. And so, and they're powerful too, and they have incredible eye-hand coordination. And some of those catches that they make, I agree with you, they got power in their wrist, and their training is phenomenal. Their training is unbelievable. They can do things that I was really impressed by what they do down there. I spent the week at the Essendon football facility, the football facility, and they worked. They had this room there, was fascinating. They had an altitude room. And I've told a bunch of NFL coaches about this room. So when you're hurt, and you can't really train to the level that you need to train, they put the players in a room where they can get the altitude up to 8,000 feet. And then you ride the bike at 8,000 feet, and that really gets you in shape. I mean, they're cutting edge when it comes to this kind of stuff. I loved it. I had a blast down there. Melbourne was a great city, Pat. You would love it.
Oh yeah.
It's very English. It's tremendous. And Gary Lyon and Tim Watson are two of the best guys ever. You got to go on their show.
I would love to. I talked to Eddie McGuire, who's the president of the Collingwood Magpies, and he's also the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire down there. I'm starting to kind of dive in. I don't know enough about the sport. I don't want to take too many interviews because I don't want to sound like an idiot until I learn some more things about it. But I'm enjoying my ride here of learning about the sport.
It's not a hard sport to learn. I mean, on that plane ride with Clarkie, he taught me the game. He brought his computer out and we started talking about it, and it's really not, there's a lot more to it than you think. They got the GPS on all the players they have to monitor. The coaches are typically up in the booth, but it's a design. It's a little bit like hockey. It looks like organized chaos. But, you have to bounce the ball twice, or, you can't just run with it completely like rugby. You've got to put the ball on the ground, and you've got to be able to the guy has to have a clear path to punt it when he has the ball at a timeout or stuff like that. It's not a hard game to learn. It's hard to follow how they're doing it, but their legs are incredible. Their conditioning's amazing. And I your team is really good. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
Collinswood's really good. They're
Oh, yeah.
excellent. I mean, they're really good. So is Geelong. Hawthorne had a big win this morning. But, you know, and the Perth teams, the West Coast Eagles are really good as well. Perth has two teams out there. Perth is the eastern part of the country.
Okay, so we are all in on the AFL. I like that you are as well. I'd like to ask you some questions about the NFL because there is some news being made in the NFL. Anthony Lynn has come out and said basically that Colin Kaepernick should get a workout and Cam Newton. There's a lot of conversation now about Colin Kaepernick potentially coming back to the league. Roger Goodell has said that he's encouraging teams to sign him because I think Roger Goodell understands at this point now, 4 years later, with the severity of everything that's going on in the messaging, I think he understands that they messed up with the Colin Kaepernick situation with the players bad 4 years ago. And I think he is trying to maybe right some wrongs at this point for admitting his mistakes. And he said he wants a team to sign Colin Kaepernick, or if not, he wouldn't mind if Colin Kaepernick comes and works in the NFL to help them make better decisions. But whenever you look at Colin Kaepernick on a workout list and stuff like that, do you think any team is going to sign Kaepernick at this point, or is it all 100% dependent upon how he does in those workouts?
No, I think a team's going to sign him. He deserves it. Look, I mean, last year there's some atrocious quarterbacking play, you know, in the National Football League. When the Jets lost their starters, when Darnold got mono, and then Trevor Siemian got injured, and they were down to Luke Falk. I mean, that wasn't pretty for 3 games to watch, right?
Yeah.
You could make the case. I mean, I like Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville, but Gardner Minshew started 12 games last year, struggled in the fourth quarter. He's not really ready to go. Mike Glennon's never been a good player. I mean, Jacksonville.
Jeez. Mike Glennon didn't deserve that.
He's made a lot of money. He shouldn't be mad at me for saying that because he's had opportunity, you know, and I think like Jacksonville could use, like the one I don't get, Kaepernick will get his chance. To me, Cameron Newton should be signed. He's better than a lot of starters on teams. Not
just a lot, by the way. He, a couple years ago, whenever he was healthy, MVP type player, and you look at the workouts, we can't show any of his workouts because we got a copyright strike for showing his last workout that he put up on the internet. Interesting. But
how is that possible? It's on Twitter.
We don't fully understand. I don't fully understand, but I know we can't show any more clips because I would like my business to continue to operate. But he was doing this workout with his right arm. He was doing a one-arm push-up while sending his other hand out. He looks like he's going to be better than ever. What is it about Cam Newton that you think he hasn't been signed yet? Because like you said, the Jacksonville Jaguars, we all assumed that he would get signed there. Then the Chargers, we all assumed he would get signed there after they were allegedly in the Tom Brady lottery. There's a lot of teams that we thought, you know what, Cam Newton would be better than. The timing of his release from the Panthers, I guess, was it was unfortunate because there was other spots already taken up. But do you think he's going to have to wait till somebody gets hurt? You think he's going to have to wait till training camp? Like, what is the big deal right now with signing Cam Newton?
I mean, I think each situation is different. Let's take Chicago, right? Chicago trades for Nick Foles. They give up they could have signed Cam Newton for nothing, right? But if they bring Cam Newton into Chicago, everybody in that locker room, and you've been in the locker room, everybody in that locker room knows Cam's better than Trubisky. Absolutely.
Let's put that guy in.
Play that guy, right? Same thing in Denver. I like Drew Lock. Drew Lock played good in 7 games. He did. But if you signed Cam Newton in Denver, everybody would say, nice, Drew, you're really good. We'll wait. Party gifts at the door. We're going with Cam, right? And I think a little bit of that, people are scared to bring him in to challenge somebody that they have a preconceived notion about.
So it's all ego. So it's all ego then. It's all about.
It's all ego. Like I keep saying, if I'm the Patriots, I'm signing Cameron Newton. I like Jarrett Stidham. I think Jarrett Stidham's a good player. I'm signing Cameron Newton. I mean, to me, it's the Warren Buffett approach to signing players. Buy when they're devalued, and then you're going to get and increase their value. That's what the Patriots have always done.
So what
they have cap issues right now, but if they didn't, I think they would.
Yeah, you know the Patriots organization very, very well. I mean, you've been in there, you've helped. I think your kid was even coaching there. I don't know if he still is.
Yeah, he's the receiver coach there. Yeah, coach. We call him Coach of the Year here, but that's okay.
That's going to be tough with Belichick there. But Coach of the Year, Lombardi down there. You have really good ties in there. The question was, since they have such salary cap issues, how would they ever make that work? What would you have to do? You'd have to move some players, obviously. You'd have to restructure some contracts. But then by the way, that next year after that, the Patriots have all the money in the world. And with this new CBA where you can change the percentages of how much money you give, more than 15% or whatever, year to year, it seems like there is a move to be made, but I don't know how they would even start to do that.
the number one thing they'd have to do is redo Joe Tooney's contract. He's the franchise player. He signed a tender. He's at $14 million hard dollars on their cap. They could easily redo his deal and fit Cam Newton in there, but they would have to extend his deal out. And the problem is next year, as you know, because of the no fans, that cap could come down, and people are really reluctant to do a lot of deals because no one knows where the cap's going to be next season.
It makes no sense. Cam Newton. It makes no sense.
I mean, but I do think, going back to Colin, I think it was an injustice that Colin wasn't signed because he was better than a lot of guys. It's hard for me to understand that. Now, you're going to have to agree with a contract. He's got to be willing to take a job that he's not going to be given his starting job. There's got to be some reason of conditions that he comes in and says, okay, I want the opportunity to compete. We'll see if he does that.
Yeah, Roger Goodell would never say that he put him on a list, a do not sign list. He will never come out and say that conversation happened behind closed doors. But I do believe that everybody with a reasonable mind is like, okay, let's assume that years ago, now that Roger Goodell is coming out and saying we handled this poorly and we should have listened and stuff let's assume that there probably wasn't a direct message of let's not sign Colin Kaepernick, but at some point a conversation was had where they were like, if you can sign another player, please do so. Is that, do you think?
I think where most teams got to is do we want to take on Kaepernick, the player, and then you got are we willing to take the other part on as well? And I think what kind of problems did that bring to the team? Would it cause distractions? That kind of thing. I think it was the whole entity, Colin Kaepernick, not just the player.
I'm pumped for Kaepernick in the NFL to hopefully mend fences and become a good relationship again, because that could be a really good story for our league. I mean, that could be a very, very good story for our league. I don't know if he's going to get back in the game. I don't know if he's going to be on the field. But I think if he does business with the NFL again, it's good for everybody, everything, every message at this point, even though it might have been misconstrued years ago. And Cam Newton, come on, let's sign the guy. Let's get this thing going. Mr. Lombardi, you got some, sorry. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we'd be robbing the listeners if we didn't ask Michael for at least some tips to make some money potentially on AFL this weekend.
Yeah, true.
Or any over-unders for the NFL season that you may like.
Yep. True.
I'm really high on Geelong. I think Geelong's really a good team. They folded last year late in the season. I think Collins is really good. Everybody's talking about them. Hawthorn had a big win today. They got beat last week by Geelong, that affected them. And Essendon has played really good in the 2 games so far this season. But and last year, look, the West Coast Eagles, the 2 perf teams, the Western Bulldogs and the West Coast Eagles, are really good. I think those are my teams that I would go with. And Carlton's still a good team as well. So but Carlton's stats right now are a little bit problematic for me. But when you look at this team, I think, to me, the one team I would take a shot at, I think Geelong is really good. They're really good at home games as well. They play well at home even though there's no fans.
We have a bandwagon fan here of the Geelong Cats in the office right now, and it's kind of making me sick.
Michael, I heard on your show last week, I believe, you said that Geelong has a longer and maybe skinnier field. Are all the fields not the exact same size?
What?
They're not all the same. They're similar, but they're not exactly the same. And so, Essendon plays at the Marvel Stadium in Melbourne. There's a bunch of stadiums in Melbourne, and Essendon plays at Marvel Field, which is a neat place. And so their practice field looks just like Marvel. But Collingswood plays, they're right there, and they play over at the Cricket. So it's a little bit bigger. It's more running, and I think you got to kind of practice it a little bit. Yeah, all the fields are slightly different. Hawthorns is different. Hawthorn is down by Adelaide, down there as you go towards the coast, down south of that. So they'll play at Marvel, too. Adelaide's another team that's south of there. They play down there. No, I mean, it's a tremendous. And the fans are great, too.
Great.
The fans, they're really good. They're into it. They're all homemade. They're all part of the, everybody buys into the team. They have Essendon has 80,000 members in their club. So it's fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. And I think I just heard a whistle come out of a child's mouth over there with a yell. That was a next level pitch.
I got 4 little Lombardis running around this house, all under 3 and under. It is a work in progress, trust me.
Well, good luck back out there. You've been successful to everything else. I'd assume that you're a great granddad. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Lombardi. Thank you, buddy.
AFL AFL, here we come. I should have worn my Essendon stuff on. Next time I'm on, I'll wear my Essendon stuff.
Well, they sent me an entire kit. I'm a member of the Collingwood
I'm going to
man.
get you. I'm going to text you, Gary and Tim's. You got to go on that show. They would love you down there. You would be big in Australia. Yeah, I bet you if you research your Twitter following, you got Australian people probably following you now.
Oh, we got a pretty big bump down there in Australia. I was trending like 4 or 5 days down there in Australia straight. It was very eye-opening, very hospitable group to me. Very thankful, and I'm thankful for them for creating a game that I love and I can promote a little bit. It's a good relationship, me and Australia. It's a good relationship.
It really is. It's fun. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Lombardi. We got to get to a break for radio. We'll finish up hour one here. I wonder if Colin Kaepernick's people are going to come out and say that you told people not to sign me and we can do business again. And there's no way Roger Goodell would do that because then that's an entire, what is that? That's like, that's some sort of legal something.
Yeah, it's a whole new
collusion. I mean, there's no way that would happen. Those conversations between Colin Kaepernick and Roger Goodell, I feel like are potentially going to go like the MLB and the MLBPA. But just like them, there will be a deal done at the end of the day because it'll be right for everybody, hopefully. We hope so. If not, we'll just keep watching the AFL down in Australia. 46 minutes after the hour, back on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
He's saying don't go off the top, it's too shallow.
All you're going to hear this stadium do is they put the big paw up, they start shaking it, they go, whoa. Hey, what things are going good, Yeah, he loves the defensive side of the ball. He said yesterday to me that this is a blue-collar team. They win it on special teams. They have 5 block kicks this season. The defensive side of the ball, Lynch leads the Big 12 in sacks. But also on the offensive side, Denzel Mims is an absolute animal. He is a weapon. Charlie Brewer, the quarterback from Lake Travis. His dad was a quarterback in Texas. Yeah. His grandpa was a quarterback in Texas. And the people here in Waco just so happen to get a chance to see Charlie Brewer on a daily basis. Okay. Hey. Yeah, Boomer here is going to mean a little bit different than what it means on the internet currently. And hopefully here in Baylor, they hope they're not hearing a lot of Boomer sooner. Everybody wants to be a punter, including quarterbacks. If I was a quarterback, I'd want to be a punter as well. 0 yards on that punt. That's an embarrassing situation. The Dak dance that gets on national television has led to a lot of losses, but you got to respect the hips being able to. What sign am I going to make for College Game Day? Well, I want to make something creative. I want to make something fun. No, to hell with it. I don't like OU. It's so thick. Look how thick that thing is. That's years and years of patience. You're headed right for the boat. Right now? Okay, let's do it. We are out here on the Brazos River, which you can take a boat to the game. One of the only stadiums in the country that you can do that. It's beautiful out here. A lot of people would say, this is the last time I'm going to be on game day. The last time I allegedly did what I'm about to do, I ended up in a jail cell. Let's go! Bad decision. The blue kickers get us way down here. Hey, a lot higher than I thought.
You look like Ric Flair.
That was a sellout, by the way. That was beautiful.
Do we have any other shirts? Yeah, hold on.
You need to go get changed before you get sick.
Great work, Russia. I'm actually not that cold. Hey, I went for it. My chest hurts. standing there.
That's full commitment, by the way. Do you have an ad?
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead and read that.
If you're listening to the show right now, which you are, I want you to take a second and look down. When was the last time you shaved your junk? It's been a while. Don't lie. Let's take a second to thank our sponsor, Manscaped, for holding you accountable.
Thanks for doing that, Manscaped. Really appreciate it.
Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and hygiene. Manscaped is forever changing the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0 Essentials Kit. The Perfect Package 3.0 kit comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, waterproof cordless body trimmer, and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out the manscaping routine. Subscribers get a new replacement blade refill for your lawnmower trimmer delivered to your door every 3 months, making sure your trimmer always stays fresh and clean. For a limited time, subscribers get not one, but 2 free gifts, the Shed Travel Bag and the patented high-performance anti-chafing Manscaped Boxer Briefs.
That's wild.
This is the perfect package for your perfect package. Get 20% off and free shipping with code America at manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with code America at manscaped.com. That's 20% off. Free shipping at code America at manscaped.com.
All right, shout out Manscaped. We got about a minute left in this entire thing. We will get to news that we should talk about because we're a live show in the second hour with our friend Frank. Also in the second hour, we have Bill Polian joining us, the man who's a Hall of Fame general manager, built up the Bills, four falls, whatever you want to call it, Carolina Panthers and Indianapolis Colts, and the man who drafted me. So can't wait to talk to him. Going to have a big second hour. Just had Lombardi on talking about the NFL, Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick, and obviously our love of footy, Aussie Rules Football. Had no idea he was a consultant for the Ascendant team down there. Of course he is. That's what Michael Lombardi does, is everything. What a first hour. We can't thank you enough for watching or listening, wherever the hell you may be. We'll take some phone calls during the break at youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. Hour 2 should be good. We'll probably have an update on the MLB. We'll have an update on the NBA. We'll talk more NFL. We'll talk more life. This has been a hell of a Thursday, June 18th. This is the Pat McAfee Show. We will see you on the other side. Radio, folks. All right. YouTube, what the fuck's going on?
What's up, Tube?
Let's get some phone calls here. Let's go to Zach in Moose Jaw, Canada, which I think is pretty close to...
Right next to Saskatoon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Hey, Zach, what's going on out there in Moose Jaw?
Pat, boys, what's going on this Thursday?
Hey, pal, got nothing going on down here. Hey, Moose Jaw better than Lockjaw, eh?
Oh, way better.
Way better,
pal. Get the hammer out, Pat. I got a lock for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Okay.
They're plus 2,500 on FanDuel right now. They've got arguably the best player in the NHL, Connor McDavid.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Lost connection, I think. It's because Canada. Hey, call back tomorrow, man. We lost service. Sorry, you're up there in Moose Jaw.
Yeah, bad connection up there.
Yeah, Saskatoon. They cut the tire off there. Hey, the wire. Hey,
might as well be fantasy land.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he probably is. Are there unicorns up there too, Kim Jong-un? Are the unicorns up there, pal?
They might not even make it past Blackhawks.
What's he saying about Hey, by the way, I'm not taking any hockey advice from a guy that says Connor McDavid's the best player on earth. You know why? Because is Sidney Crosby still breathing? The heir? Yes, he is.
Yep.
What a stupid guy. I mean, nice guy. Thanks for calling. Canadian nice. Really appreciate it. Moose Jaw, Canada. Where is Moose Jaw, Canada?
It's between Calgary and Winnipeg.
What
above Montana.
Like 47 kilometers away from Saskatoon.
Where's Saskatoon at, Ty?
To be honest, I have no idea. My eyes are terrible.
You are right.
Oh, yeah. See, I knew. What'd I say? 47 kilometers.
What a fucking literal shot in the dark right there. Good for you, dude. Let's go to Matt in Illinois. What's going on, bub?
Very done.
Oh, man.
No.
Hello?
I do kind of hit him with a fastball, though. We're talking about something else in that. Come on, nowhere. Matt in Illinois, what do you want to talk about?
Hey, Pat. How you doing?
Not too shabby, thanks. Collingwood Magpies about to put a fucking shellacking on St. Kilda this weekend. I'm feeling pretty good. How are you?
I'm well. I was just calling to get your reaction to the goal line technology failure in the Sheffield United game yesterday. Especially want to get your reaction to how you think the EPL should handle the issue with Sheffield United fighting for that last Champions League spot, and then Aston Villa.
All right, Matt, good question. We'll get to it. So yesterday, Gumpy would have won 3-0 on his bets that he gave out to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been on quite a hot streak gambling, by the way. I mean, AFL gambling has been paying off for us. UFC fighting gambling has been paying off for us. Now, you got to select and choose which ones you're really sold on. But Gumpy has been hot in the soccer thing. Would have went 3-0 yesterday if it wasn't for just getting completely fucked over by the refs. There was a goal that was had that was called back. Well, it actually was never called a goal, but they have a thing where they go like this, and it's like, let's go watch the review. And they had a complete shot of this thing being completely in the goal, and they never called it. It screwed out a lot of people out of their bets. It screwed us out of having a perfect day yesterday. Gumpy, who's already been locked in his house in Canada, all the guy wants to do is work. The VAR system screwed him out of his happiness and off of his resume. I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't know how these big-ass leagues that have all this money and technology continue to mess up these things on replays. We saw it all last year with River on. The VAR system is one that a lot of people hate to begin with. I don't know how. I don't know why. Probably because they got Alberto Riverons making decisions over there. I think what you need is you need somebody with maybe a younger, keener eye on these things that can kind of do things, at an expedited fashion. A la the XFL last year when they had an Xbox controller going back and forth with the replay, talking it out. This is what we're seeing. Let's change the rules right now. Why doesn't everybody just do what the XFL did? Because they don't want to give Vince McMahon or Oliver Luck credit for the whole thing. They had the Skycam came in from the last XFL. Congratulations, made every sport better, including hockey. Let's get it out there, even in the arenas, not just the stadium series. But here we go. Made every sport better. The review process, just fucking implement it and let's get all better. I don't know why they won't do it. I assume the NFL will after a year from now when the XFL is potentially forgotten about. But goddamn, fix the whole thing.
And I could be wrong, but I thought the EPL had the goal line technology, kind of like where tennis, where the goal is blue and then it censors actually if the entire ball is over or not. But
there's a shot from the side where that, because I thought he potentially pinned it on the post, and if it's touching the post, then that means it hasn't crossed the entire line, right? Because the post is on the line. So if it's touching the post at all, it hasn't crossed the line. But then there's a side shot that was shown. It was just like, oh, that dude's almost in the back of the side panel right there. That guy's almost in the back of the net. But it's nice to know that other leagues fuck it up too, and not just the NFL.
Yeah, that is
nice. That makes you feel good. Like, oh, it's not just our guys that fuck it up.
Right.
Their guys do too. And that league's a lot older and longer and, stuff like that. And much easier to see, by the way.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Can't be making those.
Hour 2 kicks off in 5 seconds. Who's ready?
Yes! Let's go!
Yes! Good morning, beautiful people. It is hour 2 of Thursday, June 18th, 2020. This morning, the Richmond Tigers got blown out by the Hawthorne Hawks at 5:40 a.m. on ESPN2. We watched that in excitement. I was watching that in excitement because my AFL love is alive and real. The Richmond Tigers were last year's champions, but they've come out of quarantine a bit rusty-dusty. Speaking of rusty-dusty, Dusty Martin wasn't playing. A lot of people say he was one of the best in the game. He was not playing this morning, and it showed because the Hawthorne Hawks had their way with the Richmond Tigers. A lot of people told us to bet on the Richmond Tigers going in there. This is a good club. This team does the Aussie Rules football good. I bet on them twice now. I've lost on them twice. I will no longer bet on them, but I am supporting the team that sent me a kit. I am an official member. I barrack for the Collingwood Magpies. You could potentially, get this tape ripped off. No free ads over here, though, bub.
I don't think about that.
It might be how it works in Europe and Australia, but no free ads here. Nobody even knows what that is.
No.
You can't even tell what that company is anymore.
No idea.
Starts with an E, does it? Or is it
B.
an F or a B?
Is that boobs?
I thought it was a C.
I think
like
it's
CBS.
boobs. I think they're sponsored.
Jeez.
It's right there. It's right there. Collingwood Magpies play Saturday morning, 2:30 a.m. against St. Kilda. Go ahead and watch them put a ass-beating fest on St. Kilda. We are an AFL show because it is alive and well and blossoming. Speaking of maybe not being alive and well and blossoming, Tony Fauci came out and said that the NFL is potentially not going to be able to be in existence.
What?
He just doesn't see how you're going to be able to get all these clubs playing their own individual stadiums. You're going to have to test everybody daily, especially with how much you're on top of each other. And I say this to Tone Fauci, okay? Tone, just stay out of it, okay? At this particular time. I don't need to hear this news from Tone at this particular time. Maybe in a couple weeks when we really have our hopes up and you want to come in and demolish them, cool. But just let me continue to think, you know what? July 31st, basketball's coming back. July 28th, NFL training camp's coming back. July 8th, MLS is coming back. Will the MLB ever come back? Who knows? They say there's a deal, then there's not a deal, then Manfred lies, then the players say that's a bunch of BS, and then blah, blah, blah. At his request, they're talking. Maybe they'll come back mid-July. There seems like there's a real momentum for sports coming back, and now we got old, bearer of bad news, Foch, coming out saying just doesn't see how football is going to happen. Well, then how's the NBA going to happen, Foch? How's MLS happening like next week? How is any of this happening, Foch? Tell me that. I don't need you rain on my parade. I respect the fact that you probably know more about medicine than anybody else on earth, maybe. I don't even know how that world, is there a ranking system for people with knowledge of medicine? I don't know. Been around for 40, 50 years. Just don't need Foch coming at me. Foch. Enough. That's all I'm saying. Just stay out of the NFL conversation.
Here.
Until, we have an actual answer. Because right now it's all hearsay, thought, what could potentially happen. Foch, we don't know what's going to happen next week. You don't either. You know why? Because we've all watched you from the beginning of this thing, and a lot of the things that we're saying have been completely opposite. It's not your fault, Foch. Not your fault, Foch.
Yeah.
You didn't know anything about this thing that was coming out of nowhere. But now that we're learning, we don't need you spilling the beans saying there's going to be no NFL. I'd like to have a little bit of hope when I go to sleep. And guess what? The AFL is filling that void for sure. But if I can get an AFL, NFL tag team on my ass, I am in.
If Fauci tells me that I can't leave my house from the beginning of football season to the NFL football season, and that's the only way to have football, I'll do it.
Yeah, you will.
Well, come here and then back.
No. Stay home, bro. Stay home.
Tony,
No.
Tom, stay home.
For the shield, Tony.
I'll call Elon. He'll build a tunnel from my house to here.
Oh, speaking of Elon, I guess he was out there just slinging alien dick around.
That's what he's been doing.
I guess he was with Amber Heard, Johnny Depp's wife, and Cara Delevingne. These are things that Johnny Depp is alleging. And now, today, it is no coincidence that Boston Connor's wearing him right on his forehead. Is that why, Boston Connor?
Well, I figure someone should show him a little bit of respect, because if it's true, wow, hats off to the guy. He's an alien.
Well, his business is getting put out on the streets because Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's divorce is getting a bit ugly, but I'm assuming there's going to be a couple more stories come out there. But anytime you mention Elon Musk's name, I am going to listen, because that is one of the most interesting humans. Nope, the most interesting human to ever exist.
Yeah,
Elon
I just
Musk.
hope, XAE12 Archangel 1215 is okay with everything going on.
Which is
father.
Elon Musk's child, by the way. Everybody knows that. I wonder if he was potentially created in a 9-10 person, sex fest. We don't know. We'll learn more as we go. Not 100% sure.
Definite possibility.
At this point, I am much more surprised. I'd be much more surprised to learn that Elon Musk has sex versus Elon Musk is an actual alien.
You don't think Elon Musk has had sex?
Shots fired.
I
Did
figured he was just too focused on bettering the world.
Why do you think he stayed on Earth?
Everything's like rock star. I feel like he believes he is a engineering, trailblazing, like rock star badass. Because Jay Leno on Jay Leno's Car Garage, great show, I've been into it, had Elon Musk on the show with the Cybertruck. And I think the question was like, why is it a bulletproof? Why did you make this bulletproof? And Elon was like, because it's badass. Like, you'd rather have your truck be bulletproof than not bulletproof, right? And Jay Leno was like, well, when you frame it that way, I guess that's the case. Elon Musk is just a different specimen than the rest of us. And now his sex life's getting dragged in the streets. But that guy's made $1 billion like 5 different ways. That's a pretty impressive individual. I just hope that no bad news comes out about Elon Musk ever, because I just checked the internet. Taco Bell can't eat it anymore.
Oh,
What?
no.
Come on!
Taco Bell's dead.
dead.
I love Taco Bell.
Hashtag Taco Bell is over party. Hashtag cancel Taco Bell. Hashtag Taco Bell ain't no moss. Something like that.
That's good.
All those are trending.
Great hashtag.
All those are currently trending right now around Taco Bell. So don't even think about eating a Crunchwrap Supreme with no sour cream until we get that figured out. But
Party Pack's dead.
Party Pack is dead. Party Pack is dead.
Oh my God.
There was a Morgantown Taco Bell that was serving, I think, meat that was nowhere near okay or whatever.
Really?
Chipotle?
Yeah, they had to shut it down like Chipotle. They had to shut it down, and then like a month later, whenever they opened back up, there was a line out of the parking lot down the highway. Like Taco Bell has had quite a stranglehold on the very high eaters, just because I think they do hire very high people to put concoctions together. Okay, we're going to put Doritos with Cheetos with cookies and a taco, and then we'll just put some queso on top of that, and then we'll put a wrap around all of that, and we'll call it the fun bun hello hi person eat this at midnight. That's what they do, but they've been canceled. They did something terrible. I didn't look into it enough. I just saw a trend. Taco Bell is over. I was like, well, somebody's going to have to answer that, because my butthole is not going to be happy about not having to expedite Crunchwrap Supremes with no sour cream through it in a rapid fashion.
What are you going to do?
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Good
They had a
riddance.
good run.
Did you hear what they said about Portillo's?
No, you stop that right
No,
now.
I'm not going to ruin Zito's entire life. The MLB last night had a lot more drama. Just whenever we thought it couldn't get more dramatic, it got more dramatic, and that's because the commissioner of the MLB is a guy who I think thrives in ineptitude.
Wow.
I feel good about that. I feel he does seem like Rob Manfred does seem as if he thrives in ineptitude. And we talk to a lot of people in the baseball world. You talk to Buster Olney, you talk to Jet Passon, and if you know anything about sports and leagues, you know that Rob Manfred is just speaking for the owners, right? Rob Manfred is just Roger Goodell is only speaking for the owners. Roger Goodell is getting paid $40 million a year to be the shield for whenever something bad has to be said or big news has to be said, so that Roger Goodell can go out there and just take the firing squad of hate as opposed to the owners who are still the heroes because they have teams in each city. Like, that's Roger Goodell's job. That's why I've always said, yes, Roger Goodell has to make decisions that people are going to hate him for, but the way he speaks and says things is next level. He's a politician times 50. He can speak for 30 minutes without saying a single thing. Rob Manfred, on the other hand, guy is getting paid $25 million a year to be a shield for the MLB owners. He can speak for a minute and a half and burn everything down. And that is where you really have to judge your commissionership ability.
Well said.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to judge your commissionership ability. Yeah. And I think his commissionership ability is a low one. And even last night, after he said, at my request, Tony Clark, head of the MLBPA, and I met for several hours yesterday in Phoenix, Arizona, which, by the way, is currently having a yodel. Yeah. Maybe Rob Manfred shouldn't be over there. Yeah, he's a little bit older, but yodel. Yeah, but Fauci is letting him. Fauci doesn't say anything about this. Fauci doesn't say anything about this. He just comes after NFL, which isn't supposed to start for another month and a half.
Interesting.
Let's get back to this statement.
Take your fights wisely.
Fauci or me?
Fauci.
Okay, good. Because I was about to say, I understand going after Fauci is probably a tough one to go after.
I didn't know that.
I assume that there's going to be, you need to respect Tony Fauci. There's going to be a lot of that. Maybe I do. I don't know. But I know that there's no reason for him to start taking shots at the NFL all of a sudden out of nowhere when we don't know what's going to happen next week. I'm not talking about any of the medicine stuff. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, we're not talking etymology.
Yeah, we're not talking that. Back to Rob Manfred. Rob Manfred, we met in Phoenix for several hours. We left that meeting with a jointly developed framework that we agreed could form the basis of an agreement. Okay, so we agreed that this could potentially cause an agreement between our two sides, which is actually being headed by both of us. So he says nothing there while still saying something with being an idiot. I laid out the framework numerous times in a meeting and sent Tony a written summary yet again of what we're thinking, consistent with our conversations. I am encouraging the clubs to move forward, and I trust Tony is doing the same. So what is happening is information is getting leaked by the MLB that a deal is being done and it's being laid out. Then the MLB players who have just been saying when and where, tell us when and where. Rob Manfred said, oh, well, we'll say when and where, then it'll be something you don't like. The players have come out and said there hasn't been an agreement. We haven't even talked about it yet. Get off our ass, Rob Manfred. And it's yet again another game of deceiving the fans while using the media to do so. And who knows if they'll ever get a deal done, but I've enjoyed the business side and the drama of baseball a lot more than the actual sport of baseball lately, and I hope that changes whenever bats start getting back on balls, because I think this maybe has turned me into a baseball fan.
At what point are the players done with, like, Tony Clark? Like,
that's what I'm saying, though. The NFL and the NFLPA, whenever that last lockout was happening, there was quite a momentum of players that were like, let's get these people that have been speaking for us out of the way because they're not representing all of us. And now, granted, the NFL is a large group of people. There's a lot of people in there. And Jeff Saturday, and I assume some others, kind of went through that process. And Robert Kraft allegedly came from the other side, and they negotiated a deal and then say, hey, this is what we're going to do. At some point, we all thought that was going to happen, but it still feels as if Tony Clark is speaking for all the players and Rob Manfred's still speaking for all the owners. But it's only if you see a little dissension there, you're going to attack it, and that's what the owners are trying to do. They said that there's been a 60-game proposal, fully prorated salaries for the MLB players. Who knows if that's true? You can't believe anything anymore. David Sampson, former president of the Marlins, taught us that the other day when he said that he would just leak absolute lies about people and business just to kind of put people off the scent. But the MLB players should at least try to get 70, 80 games. There's still a long way to go for baseball, but they are in the 411th hour to get this thing done, and it's looking bad every single day. Even them talking looked bad because there was mixed reports coming out of them talking. It's just, you can't be on the same page. You have to be on the same page if you're going to negotiate a deal. Doesn't seem like they're going to get that way. 11 minutes after the hour here in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana, we have to get to a break. Bill Polian, Hall of Fame general manager from the Bills, Panthers, and the Indianapolis Colts will be joining us. A lot to talk about in the NFL world, especially from a general manager whenever it comes to crafting a team and players that are currently on the market. Why are they still out there, Bill? Hey, Bill, tell me what Cam Newton hasn't been on a team, Bill. Riddle me this. How about Kaepernick? How about the year when we won 2-14? Did you know that was going to be your final year? And would you have done anything differently if you knew you were potentially going to get fired after almost going completely defeated? A lot of good questions I have for Bill Polian on the other side. Inside Football with Bill Polian is his podcast that he will be promoting. I assume that man is just dropping football knowledge on that pod at a very regular basis. I'm not sure if it's for everybody, but if you love football, I'm assuming that podcast will be for you. Bill Polian joins us on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Thursday, June 18th. I was on a team that was very bad at football. We almost were completely defeated until Dan Orlovsky showed up and got 2 big wins. We ended up almost losing the luck pick because Dan Orlovsky, everybody thinks they're going to get fired. Every player thinks they're going to get cut. Every coach thinks they're going to get fired. They try to pawn blame off on other positional groups. If it's linebackers, they're like, we did our job. D-line can't do anything, can't stop it. There's a lot of that chatter, but it's a miserable existence. I mean, it's just the way it is. That's why you have to have so much respect for a player like Joe Thomas, who played a perennial all-pro career in a situation that was so negative and so terrible. I think if Joe Thomas got a chance and his knees let him experience a winning organization, I couldn't even fathom what Joe Thomas would have thought. I mean, life is just much better whenever you win. When you win, food tastes better. Drinks taste better. Sex feels better. Everything is better when you win. Winning cures all, they say. That's not just in the building and for a football team. That's in your life. Everything is just better when you win. And when you lose, especially when you're talking about some of the most competitive humans on earth, it is a nightmare. You got a lot of people trying to jump off the ship. You got a lot of people trying to figure it out. And whenever you're in a situation like that, it's just a full-blown nightmare for everybody. You got to think, when you get to the NFL, let's assume that the humans that make it to the NFL have had a lot of success through their lives. High school football, probably one good player, a guy who's going to make the NFL can lead a team to success. In college, if you have a couple good players that can make the NFL and make it to the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins stink, you're still going to make the NFL. Let's assume that team has had success. So then you get to a completely unsuccessful operation, a completely defeated operation, and then it's like, man, this is a whole new life for us. I'll never forget, I had a coach, special teams coach. I won't say his name because this is a terrible thing to say as a coach. We lost the game. It was back in the first regime. We were a good team. We lost the game, and everybody was moping. You know, like people were not happy that we lost the game the next day. He was, you guys just haven't lost enough. That's what he said. Everybody looked at him and was like, yeah, no crap. What are you talking about, dude? Yeah, this is the winningest decade in NFL history here. Yeah, you haven't lost enough. It's like, you've lost too much, maybe. Are you just comfortable at this point? And that's whenever it can get a little scary. Whenever people are just comfortable just getting their asses kicked every week, that could be a problem. That's when the culture is probably a lost cause. That's when the locker room's too worried about playing dice or playing Boo-Ray or anything else like that. When that starts happening after losses, then you know you're in a bad spot. And I would assume that's not happening at the Dolphins, especially under Ryan Fitzpatrick's watch. But maybe it is. I don't know. But that is a miserable existence. I am not a fan of that.
Yeah, dude. Hey, Mr. Polian, can you go in the middle of your screen there? That's perfect. Yeah, just center yourself out. That's perfect. Thank you. And we'll be back in a minute.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, Thursday, June 18th, being joined now by a man that I owe a lot to. Not only did he choose to draft me in the 7th round and trade with the Eagles for the 222nd pick of the 2009 NFL draft to put me in a position that neither of us were 100% sure I was going to be able to figure out an NFL punter, but also after I got in trouble and I got arrested for a public intoxication for an alleged swim, the conversation that he had with me the next day whenever he was informing me that he was going to suspend me was one that hindsight changed my entire life, my entire perspective, and kind of changed my life for the better. A man that I owe a lot to, Hall of Fame general manager, Bill Polian.
Yeah, Bill! Woo! Thank you, Patrick. Nice to be with you.
Hey, Mr. Polian, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Inside Football with Bill Polian is a podcast that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy. I've said it on numerous occasions. You have forgot more about football than most people know, and I'm excited that you're getting into the podcast game. How'd you decide to dive into this?
Well, I talked to some people that had suggested it to me. I didn't know much about it. As you know, I'm technologically challenged. So they said, give it a try. You've got so much experience, so much history. You've done so many things in the National Football League that by explaining those things and talking about them, you can relate them to what's happening today and give listeners an idea of why things happen as opposed to just how they're happening. So we gave it a try, and I really enjoyed it. It's long form, obviously, so you get a chance to be a little more detailed and a little more nuanced. And apparently it's been received pretty well. So thus far it's been fun.
We listened to the first 30 minutes of the show this morning, trying to get a kind of a grip on it. I like the fact that it's somebody who I think his name's Scott. He sounds like a casual fan, but getting a chance to ask you questions and then listen to your brain has been beautiful. I can't wait to dive into it. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. But let's dive into football a little bit now with a man who has been there, done that with damn near everything. Whenever you're thinking about building a team like you did in Buffalo, Carolina, and Indianapolis, how important is the culture of the team? Because whenever your regime left in Indianapolis, the culture completely changed and it just became a very different operation. For you, how do you ensure that the culture of the team that you're putting together is one that will be successful? Because that's a big X factor that does not get accounted for enough.
Well, as my original mentor, Marv Levy, used to say, it's simple, but it isn't easy. You set a set of principles upon which you're going to work, and then you bring people in who believe in those principles and adhere to them, and then you get the theory of multiplication. Because when one person believes they can only affect one, when 10 people believe they can affect 100. And as you know, having been in that locker room, when you have Jeff Saturday, when you have Peyton Manning, when you have Edgerrin James, when you have Reggie Wayne, when you have Gary Brackett, then they're all believers. Those are guys that share the same value system, the same approach to the game. And as a result, they make believers of everyone else. So that's the way to do it. It's the only way to do it. And you have to be very careful about who you bring on board. You have to have high standards. And once you deviate from those standards, one deviation, strangely enough, can cause a big crack in the foundation. So you have to be very careful about that.
It was, and I always talk about this, the regime that I got drafted into, winningest decade in NFL history. I mean, I was too young to fully get a chance to really enjoy the whole thing. I only had a few years in that culture. And then when we moved to the next culture, it was just a very different operation. It was like, let's spend money on free agents. Let's get people in here. And it was just, when the locker room wasn't completely together, it was a whole different world. The team that you built there in Indianapolis that I got to see a tail end of with all the guys that you're mentioning, and also the people that you brought in just like for special teams. It was just, you walked in that building, you had this feeling like, okay, this team is a team that wins. This is a team that works hard. And I want to ask you about the year whenever we did not win a lot. It was your last year as general manager for the Colts. There's always been a lot of conversation. Like, did they suck for luck? Did they try to lose? And I always answer, well, the players didn't try to lose, and Bill Polian got fired after that, and all the coaches got let go. So that conversation is an interesting one. Did you know going into that year that it was potentially going to be your last year being general manager? And what were the decisions that you had to make whenever you find out that one of the greatest players in the history of the game is going to be out for the season there?
Well, how much time do we have?
Take your time. Take your time. This is a real, because I've had this question now for like 7-8 years now, because your position is one that is not easy in this whole thing, because I mean, you got to balance the greatest of all time with outside expectation that there's the next John Elway coming in. I mean, there's a lot that you had to juggle in that entire world.
Well, let's go back to August of 11 when the lockout ended. We only then found out that Peyton had serious surgery and it really hadn't taken as well as it should have. But we still had hopes that he was going to be fine. He and I sat down and met, and we talked about when both of us might leave, which looked to be, in general terms, about 4 years hence. And we basically agreed that we'd like to go out together if that was all possible. And I let Peyton know that it was my strong desire and Jim Irsay's strong desire that he finish as a Colt. And I think he wanted that pretty badly. I said to him, you're a Derek Jeter, and you should be. You should go out come in as a Colt, the greatest of all time. Lucas Oil Stadium's here because of you, and you should go out as a Colt.
Yep.
So that was the decision that we hoped to fulfill. Then on the day of the cut to 53, which was the Saturday following the last preseason game, I was actually in a meeting with the coaches discussing the structure of the squad, and one of the doctors came and got me and said, you have to come down to the training room. And I knew it was serious because they wouldn't interrupt such a meeting. I went down there, and Dr. Foyer, who was our spine doctor, showed me the MRI, and he said Peyton's going to need to have a fusion here, and he's going to be out for the season. So, boom, knockout punch. So when I finally cleared my head, I said, okay, I've got to go back and at least tell Coach Caldwell, and then we'll finish cutting the squad, and then we need to get Peyton in here and talk to him about it. So I went back and I took Jim aside and said to him, there's going to be a long-term problem with Peyton. I've got to talk to Peyton about it. You finish cutting the squad, and then I'll come back and we'll deal with it. And in the interim, just before I went back to meet with Peyton, I called Jim Irsay to tell him that this was going to be the subject. Now, postscript here. During the original meeting with Peyton, when we talked about what the future would hold, and he was going to sign a new contract, which he did. And the new contract, by the way, anticipated that there might be a situation where injury would prevent him from fulfilling a contract. So we addressed that in the contract, and he was very upfront about telling his agent, "I want this done. This is the fair way to do it." I told him, I said, "Look, it's my obligation to the franchise to make sure that your successor is on board. So I'm going to go and try and find that person. It doesn't mean he's going to succeed you before his time comes, and it certainly won't be this year, and it may not be for another couple of years. But I do have to look, and it doesn't do either of us any good to deny it publicly."
Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, yep.
So that we had taken that decision as well. So when I finally got back with Coach Caldwell, he said we probably need to tell the coaches. So I got the coaches together and said, "Look, Peyton's got a serious injury. It's going to require surgery. The likelihood is he's out for the year." And so we decided to go forward as is. And then later that night, Coach Caldwell and I discussed about whether or not we should bring in a veteran quarterback, and we did. It was Kerry Collins, as you recall. And we tried to get him ready to play as quickly as we could, but that was going to take some time. The assistant coaches were in absolute shock. Jim Caldwell was phenomenal. He said, and he obviously he was the closest coach to Peyton because he had coached him for 7 years as the position coach. And he and Tom Moore said, "Okay, hey, we just go forward." But there were a lot of other coaches that were absolutely in shock, and I don't blame them. It was a momentous, earth-shattering deal, and so at that point we just had to go forward. And our approach, I mean everybody in the football operation, and every coach. And of course, you were in all the meetings. You know what Jim said to the team.
Oh, yeah.
Was we're going to try and win every game, just like we did in years past. We don't have Peyton. We'll find another way to win. It took us a long while, half the season, to figure out. And, of course, Kerry got hurt.
Killed. He got killed. I mean, it wasn't just he got hurt. I mean, he got absolutely slaughtered, concussion.
Yeah, concussion, and that ended his career. So, we then had to readjust the whole offense again. But I've said this on numerous occasions, and I'll say it again as loudly and proudly as I can. We won 2 out of the last 3 games. So if we were sucking for luck, you and I and everybody else in that locker room and that football operation never got the message.
And by the way, the celebration after that first win by everybody, yourself included, in that locker room, it felt like a playoff win, to be honest with you. Like, thank God we're not the Lions. Okay, we got to win. But we were pumped, and that's why it was so interesting, because everybody outside was like, oh, they're sucking for luck. But then I see you and everybody else celebrating after we win and almost blow it at the end. I was like, I don't know if that is the case in this entire thing.
Not at all. Not at all. It became an issue where, I've said I've never been prouder of a team or a coaching staff than that group, because, I mean, how do you sustain the loss of a guy like that, like Peyton? It's my fault that there wasn't a veteran backup quarterback there, and I take full responsibility for that and feel terrible about it because it cost so many people their jobs. So I'm responsible for that and bear the burden of that. But the fact of the matter is, we never quit. We never threw in the towel. We never said, oh, this is over. And we knocked the Houston Texans right the heck out of the playoffs.
That felt good, didn't it? That felt good there, Bill. Now, Bill, I have this question for you. When that season ends, are you assuming, okay, I will draft Luck because I have the number 1 overall pick. He's so highly sought after. I'll keep him and Peyton. Peyton will be able to be like a mentor for Andrew, which I think, by the way, would have helped Andrew Luck's career immensely if he could have seen how Peyton would work off the field. I'm not talking about on the field. They both had incredible work ethics, but I'm talking about the way you talk to coaches, general managers, when you have maybe a strength coach, an athletic trainer, the way he handled himself as being a CEO of that team as opposed to just being the quarterback. It's a different level. I think if Andrew could have seen that, he would have been in a whole different position, especially now. Was that your plan, though? Is like, okay, we'll bring in Luck now. He'll succeed. Peyton will hopefully be healthy back that next year, and then you just get fired? Is that kind of how the whole thing played out?
That's exactly the way. Saturday before the Jacksonville game, which was the last game of the season, I met with Jim Irsay, and he said, which of the two quarterbacks do you think is the better one? I said, with all of the psychological work still to do, but of course my son had been on the Stanford staff, so I knew a great deal about Andrew Luck, and I'd been to Stanford twice already that year, and I'd been to Baylor twice already to see RG3. I said, Andrew is by far the better choice, but if we win the game against Jacksonville and we don't end up with the first pick, RG3 probably still a pretty good pick for us. I think he's very different than what Peyton is, and we'll have to change the offense, but still I think he's a pretty good player. But Andrew is by far the choice if we have one. So that was the decision that was made. And then early Monday morning, we lost to Jacksonville. Early Monday morning, I got a call from a reporter friend who said, I just want to give you a heads up. You're going to be out. And then, about 10:30 or so Monday morning, Jim called me in and said, it's done. So that's the way it went down. And as I say, we never had any intention of doing anything but our best throughout the whole season, supporting you guys and helping you do your best. And as I said, I've never been prouder of a team than the effort and a coaching staff than the effort that you guys put in all season. And then winning those last two games was really pretty special.
Watching that whole thing unfold, nobody had a clue what was going to happen. I good friends, obviously, with Dallas and a lot of people, Joseph Adai, you name it, Gary Brackett, the whole group there. I was very lucky to they kind of took me in and very welcoming to me, even though I was much different than them as a human. It was like the family atmosphere there. I started getting texts from people that were like, hey, man, they just cut me. They're cutting Peyton. Don't answer your phone. Don't even answer your phone. It felt like there was an entire clean sweep coming through there. So I turned my phone off for about a week and just saw if I survived on the other side of it. I was very thankful to still have a job, but that was a wild time in the history of football. I mean, just an insane time. Peyton gets cut inevitably, still had good football left for another 3 years after that, which your 4-year deal was agreed to. I mean, so much could have changed there with the way that whole thing was handled. It's just, I'm happy to hear you talk about that, though. I don't think I've ever heard your side of the entire thing. I was always intrigued on how you actually felt, though, throughout the entire process and how it ended, to be honest, because you had a 95-year in the NFL, a 95-year career in the NFL, and then that's how it kind of all ended. How was that moment? Did you think about taking on another job? Did you think about going anywhere else, or were you like, you know what, that's probably it for me?
No, you heard me say, and I hope you remember this, when I talk to the rookies every year, the NFL is terminal for all of us.
Yeah, true.
The axe falls. We don't leave willingly. Virtually no one leaves willingly. So you got to be prepared for that. So I was. It didn't shock me to my shoes. Peyton's injury was far more shocking and unexpected, or the surgery, I should say. I wound up what I had to do in Indianapolis. Tried to help as many people as I could get situated. And that's never an easy task. It's just hard, when people lose their jobs. That's the hardest part of it, because it made it doubly hard because we'd all been together for so long.
Yeah.
14 years, that's a lifetime in professional football. So that part of it was difficult. But once I got back, I left Indianapolis and went back to Charlotte, where we had our sort of retirement home, and then immediately got some media offers. So I went in with ESPN, and I enjoyed it very much. And then had an offer, I guess maybe 2 years or 2.5 years later, but it came in conjunction, as it happened, with my nomination for the Hall of Fame. And I got a call from a selector who said to me, look, if you go back, the likelihood is that you won't be elected, that the voters will turn you down, because there are a significant number of people who believe that your career should end on the steps in Canton.
Oh, wow.
And so...
Hey, what was the team? Can you say the team, or does that not need to be said?
No, I'd rather not say it. But okay. At that point, I said that let's have a family discussion here, and so we queried basically all the kids. My wife was a no; she didn't want me to go back, and she might feel differently now, by the way, after this quarantine. But, the kids said absolutely no. The Hall of Fame's forever. That's your legacy. So I said okay, and thanked the people that were interested in me, and it's worked out great. So
I wish that we would have been able to come to your induction. I think from what I've been told, Irsay was ready to send a plane full of us over there. That obviously didn't work out for whatever reason, the business of egos and stuff like that. Let's talk about the current state of the NFL right now, because there's two quarterbacks that are on the market that a lot of people are asking questions about. Colin Kaepernick, after Roger Goodell has said, hey, I think a team should sign him. I would implore a team to sign him. If they don't sign him, I would like to give him a job within the NFL to help us make better decisions. And then Cam Newton is also on the market right now. What is it about? We'll start with Cam Newton. What is it about Cam Newton? Is it the timing of the quarantine? You think you live in Charlotte, so you're very close to this situation. I don't know if you've seen his workout videos because you have said your technology challenge, but it feels like Cam Newton is ready to go. He's back healthy, and still he has no home right now. If you're a general manager, what is holding you back from bringing in Cam Newton? Is it strictly you don't want to challenge your starting quarterback? You want to empower your starting quarterback? Is that what you think?
It's probably 85% that. And then the other 15% is how does Cam feel about being a backup quarterback if it came to that? And the only way you can determine that is to sit down with Cam and talk it through. The financial issue, the financial part of it is also an issue, because if he's going to be a backup quarterback, then he's going to make backup money. And he may not want to do that. I have no feeling one way or the other for that. But those are the questions that need to be answered. Also, the docs, individual club docs, need to get their hands on him because they want to find out the status of the shoulder. The foot is one thing. Liz Frank, we know Brandon Stokely came back from that. That's, while not commonplace, it's not career-ending. But certainly the shoulder for a quarterback is a big issue. They want to get their hands on him. So those are the three questions that need to be answered.
And now let's talk about Colin Kaepernick. I always said that there was probably a conversation amongst the owners about, hey, let's not bring in Colin Kaepernick whenever the whole thing was going down. Roger Goodell has even admitted that they didn't handle that properly 4 years ago. But now he's 4 years out of the game, okay? And that's a long time. That's an eternity to not have live reps, not have conditioning, not have practice, and all that stuff. If he was to prove, though, that he still had it, and he was like, yeah, I'll take a backup quarterback role and earn whatever I got to do to prove that I still got it. Is that a guy that you would bring into your franchise? Because it's like, hey, he was once a freak as well on the football field.
First of all, he's got to fit what you want to do offensively. He's not Peyton, he's not Brady. He can't operate from the pocket exclusively. So he's got to fit what you want to do. That narrows the numbers of teams that for whom he plays. But theoretically, and I don't want to farm Ozzy's land here or John Harbaugh's land here, but theoretically, that kind of an offense in Baltimore, he would fit perfectly. So if you're looking for a backup, if anything happened to RG3 or the kid from Penn State that they have who fits equally well, if those guys weren't there, that's the kind of offense he fits. So the first thing you look for is offensive fit. What can he do? Anthony Lynn has said in San Diego, yes, he fits for us.
Los Angeles. So, hey, Los Angeles, Bill. Los Angeles.
Excuse me.
You're going to get us kicked off the air.
I got to put $1 in the fine jar. So, bottom line, there's only so many teams for whom he fits. So that's point one. That narrows the market a little bit. Point two, what is he willing to take financially? That's really important because whoever was representing him for both spring leagues, the XFL and the AAF, he was asking for money that they certainly couldn't afford and was actually a little bit more than mainstream backup money in the NFL, which is probably what he's looking at. And then the third part of it is let's get a workout, a physical, a real legitimate workout run by Tom Moore or somebody like that, who knows quarterbacks. And let's find out how sharp he is after 3 years out of the game. So there are those three questions that have to be answered. If the answer is affirmative in all three, then the owner has to say, in an election year, I am likely to get beaten over the head by the talking heads and the chief talking head about bringing this guy in and disrespecting the flag and the anthem. I just have to be able to recognize and say to people, I respect people's opinion, but I also respect his opinion and what he represents and the dignified way in which he's doing it, and let the chips fall where they're made.
It is interesting because there is that whole aspect of it, but I feel like now we're in a much more unified world than we were 4 years ago. So hopefully that last part of it isn't even in the conversation, but it's real life that is something that's going to come up. Bill Polian, I can't thank you enough for taking this much time with me, man. I love talking to people who have a wealth of knowledge in football and people that are great at things. You were great. It was awesome to get to watch you. One final question before we go. There's all these rumors that and these like hearsay stories that I've heard. Peyton Manning, whenever you were thinking about drafting either him or Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning walked in with a briefcase and interviewed you. Is that a true story? And what was your relationship?
True.
And what was your relationship like with Peyton? Because I got to see him work on practice and everything like that. He was a guy who knew everything, knew what he wanted. He literally knew everything, knew what he wanted, and had the command and the control and the respect of everybody. What was your relationship like with him when those conversations that maybe the rest of the team couldn't see?
It was the same as it was with Jim Kelly, and the same as it was with Frank Reich and any veteran quarterback that I'd been with throughout my career. This is not boss employee relationship. We're colleagues. We're teammates. What you have to say, I want to hear. There are times when I'll disagree, and I have 2 votes, and you only have 1. I'm going to bend over backwards to make sure that A, your voice is heard, and B, you have everything you think you need to win. So from the day that he signed his contract and we drove together to training camp up at Anderson University to this, we've been colleagues and friends and remain so.
Well, you guys were a great tag team. I was lucky to see the tail end of it. Thank you for drafting me. That was very nice of you. Thanks for having faith in my athleticism would be able to figure out how to punt. I can't thank you enough, sir.
Thanks for what you did for us. You were great, and I'm happy that your career has progressed the way it is. You're one of my favorite guys. Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Polian. Bill! That was awesome, man. Hey, when you get a chance to talk to people like that, you have to just try to drain the orange as much as possible. How can we get as much information out of that? That whole 2-14 year suck for luck thing, because when everybody was saying, now granted, there were some players that were questioning some of the coaches' calls and be like, listen, we're not trying to suck for luck, but there has been some calls here that really make us think that we are not trying our best to win, but maybe that was the coaches legitimately trying to just throw something at the into the fire, see if it'll stick. So, I mean, the thought that Bill Polian was purposely trying to suck was always hypocritical to what happened or contradicted what happened where he got fired immediately after. So it's like, did Bill Polian know that, hey, we're going to suck for luck, let's do it, and then you're going to lose your entire job, all your staff, everybody that you've worked with for the last 30 years from Buffalo all the way to Indianapolis is going to get fired? There's no way he knew that. And the fact that he said the day before the Jacksonville game, Jim Irsay was like, brother, which is the guy? Luck's the guy, obviously. He's like, we're going to draft Luck. Man, do you know how different the Colts would be right now if Luck had a chance to sit behind Peyton for 1 year? And I know that would have been a big contract because it's a first round or first overall pick. But with the way our salary cap was set up, if you pay Peyton, he's one of those guys that was able to win games regardless of everything else around him. Now, I didn't get to ask this question. He never gave a single damn about bringing in a special teamer, to help out. Never gave a damn. Never, ever. That was just a part of the blueprint for the Bill Polian thing. We're going to pay a kicker. We're going to pay a punter. You two have to take care of everything else. We're going to spend money now on rush ends because we're going to have a lead because we're going to pay a quarterback and a couple weapons. So he had his blueprint on how we are going to spend money in this way. This is our strategy. This is how it's going to go. But in lieu of that, you obviously have some drop-off points. And for me, it was just we never really had a real special teamer, which would have been nice back when I was trying to figure out how to punt. I didn't even know how to punt those first couple of years. But it was awesome to watch that regime, dude. It was just like the most put together, professional, been there, done that thing. And then you go right into a rookie GM, rookie head coach, and everything that they were trying to put together. It was that transition was tough. It was a very, very tough for anybody that was around. Equipment managers, athletic trainers, everything. It's a whole new world. 14 years together. That entire building was basically just the same thing. And then all of a sudden it's, see you later, here's a new guy. We're going to paint over the walls as well. Let's go ahead and change the entire.
That is interesting to think about, too, with him sitting behind Manning, because right around the time he got drafted was when Rodgers won his first Super Bowl. Like, you're almost seeing it, like what could potentially happen play out in front of your eyes.
It would have been awesome. I don't know how Peyton and Andrew would have gotten along. I assume they would have gotten along very well because Andrew always said I'm a massive Peyton fan, but boy, that would have helped him out long term. Just how to operate off the field. Just how to be the CEO of the operation. It's cool. That was a cool conversation. I'm very thankful for Bill. 46 minutes after the hour, we got to get to another radio break. I have to go to the bathroom. Not a bad show here today. Also, remember, Undertaker joins AJ Hawk and I at 1 o'clock. McAfee and Hawk Sports Talk, youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. This is that show. I don't know why you're listening. Let me tell you a little story about these statistics. Troy Polamalu, okay? Fucking Troy Polamalu. So we had a fake for the Pittsburgh Steelers that was a 100%er. We didn't even have a cancel the goddamn play because it was a 100%er. If we ever end up in this situation, inside the 7-yard line on the left hash, it is a 100%er that the C gap will be wide open and we will just part the C to the left. It'll be a touchdown. 100%er. We're playing in Pittsburgh, the city I grew up in. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I won the punt, pass, and kick national championship, AJ. National championship, AJ.
Congrats.
AJ, did you ever win the national championship, punt, pass, and kick?
I think I got 3rd or 4th out of 4 at the Nationals.
I'm proud of you, man. Anyways, so we're there in that stadium, okay? A lot of McAfee's in there. A lot of McAfee's in Pittsburgh. I'm going to score my first fucking touchdown, night game, Sunday Night Football, I believe it was, right here, touchdown. We get into that situation, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is really going to happen. We're like on the 6 on the left hash. It's 4th and goal now. Field goal team's jogging on. I'm like, well, fuck, it's about to, I'm ready. I am ready for this to happen. So I get out there. I get down. Vinny's like happy for me. Vinny's like very excited. He's like, let's fucking go. Like Vinny's excited for me at this moment. I'm like, here we go. So I make the call. I forget what it was. So I start saying it, right? And everybody's looking at me like, okay, bright eyes. Here we go. Let's get after it. Offensive linemen are dead ass tired. They do not want to be in the middle of a field goal anyways. So they're just like, all right, I don't give a fuck if you die here, but this should work. Let's get some points. And all of a sudden, I go through my cadence, I call it, I get down, and Troy Polamalu's fucking ass goes ahead for however long his career was at this point. I think it was like 9 years or 8 years at this point. Not a once has he ever gone to this side of the field over here to the left and stood right in the C gap. Never. He lined up exactly where he had lined in film 100% of the time. And then as soon as I got to like the second cadence right before set, he just bounced his little ass right over to the C gap. And I like stopped everything I was doing and I literally just looked at him. And I gave him like a, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, why are you there right now? And then I stood up and said, we are kicking it. We have to kick it. We are kicking this. And then I get down, and Vinatieri kicks it, and I jog off the field, and Chuck Pagano comes running up next to me. He's like, hey, good job. What you see? I said, what did I see? Polamalu just fucking went right into the goddamn C gap. What did I see? What did I see? And he goes, okay, sounds good. Good call then. And good call then. And then Vinatieri's like, hey, way to go, buddy. I'm like, way to go? Are we not going to talk about how big of a fucking asshole Troy Polamalu is for what just happened right there? So that's
I saw the angel of death waiting for me in the C gap.
It's unbelievable. What, you thought I was going to run him over? No way. He's probably going to strip me and score a touchdown the other fucking. That's Polamalu, bro. That ain't just your backyard football with your son. These are professional fucking athletes. He'd probably jump over the lineman, pick me up, and run me into the other fucking end zone if he wanted to. That's what he would have done.
The hard-hitting safety of his generation, too. I mean, Ed Reed, great cover safety. I don't know that you would have feared him, but
Ed Reed, I would have feared Ed Reed. Yeah, if I saw Ed Reed in that C gap, absolutely. E.D. Reed, boy, the best safety you ever seen, boy. I ain't doing shit to Ed Reed.
No, Ed Reed would have made the tackle. I'm saying that Polamalu would have shaved years off your life.
Oh, my God.
Raycon in the house, y'all. The newest models, the everyday E25 earbuds, are the best ones yet. With 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a nice noise-isolating feel. I'm gonna call the action real quick. Get 50% off your order at buyraycon.com/Pat. That's buyraycon.com/Pat for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. That's buyraycon.com/Pat.
You're damn right. Raycons are incredible. The E25 are beautiful and nice noise isolating fit in your ear. Go get your workout done, listen to a podcast, do what you got to do with our friends at Raycon. Half the price, same audio quality, and they got the boom booms in there. Different size little things to put on the end so it fits your ear perfectly. They got it right. They did it right. We can't thank them enough. Now, since we're almost done with hour 2 of the show here, wrapping up, we are a live show. There's probably some things we should have talked about since we are a live show. To do that, our friend Nick.
Thank you, Pat. This segment is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Go to manscaped.com, get 20% off, plus free shipping with the code AMERICA. Former Red Wing great, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, Pavel Datsyuk is reportedly one of the many folks hiding away at a Russian monastery that was overtaken by a priest who claims COVID-19 is a conspiracy to microchip their people.
Very interesting. I have heard the microchip conspiracy about vaccines, and maybe it's not a conspiracy. Who knows? Nobody knows. I don't know. I don't have a clue. But I do know the fact that a Red Wing player, the most legendary Red Wing player, is now part of a cult is something that I would like to talk about whenever we're talking about hockey time. Listen, Pavel Datsyuk had great sticky mitts, right? I mean, he had the dangles.
Silky.
He did everything like that.
The Magic Man, they called him.
But I feel like him and this Lord of the Rings guy that are holed up in a monastery are actually buying into the COVID-19 more than anybody else. They're isolating themselves out in the mountains more than any other human. We haven't even got microchipped yet. Somebody should relay the message to the monastery with the Lord of the Rings guy, the gremlin-looking guy, and the guy with the stickiest mitts in the history of hockey that we haven't got microchipped yet. You might be jumping the gun a little bit early with disappearing into a monastery. That's all I think somebody should tell them, but you got to do what you got to do. And what happens if one of them gets coronavirus in there, by the way? They're all donezo.
Now, for the sake of full transparency, because that's what this show's about, Pavel's agent said that he is not there. He's at his summer camp with his family, and he put out a video, but the video was only him chopping wood for 3 seconds with no one else around him, so you can't really tell. It's not very transparent.
Oh, so he's not there. So he's not there then. Oh, okay. Datsuk's back. Chopping wood. Maybe he's going to come back to the NHL, even though he said, I want to leave and go play back in Russia. I don't want to play in Detroit anymore. This is Thursday, June 18th. Thanks to Lombardi and Bill Polian. We'll take some phone calls afterwards, but we'll see you manana. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. Good show. Good show. Okay, all right. Let's do some phone calls here because people have been waiting on the line. I believe we have a caller from Charlotte, North Carolina, where Bill Polian lives, and he says he wants to talk about the old Aussie rules football and fact check Michael Lombardi a little bit. Let's go with Luke in Charlotte, North Carolina. What's going on, Luke?
Hey, Pat, hope you and the boys are enjoying your Thursday morning. And, let's talk about some AFL.
Okay, please, let's do it. We are enjoying our Thursday morning. We hope you are as well. Let's chat, mate.
Mate, firstly, Collingwood are like the Dallas Cowboys of the AFL, and you either love them or you hate them. So you've chose very poorly, I feel, but I understand.
Oh, come on. Luke, you've chosen poorly. How about that, Luke? You've chosen poorly.
Well, I'm a big West Coast Eagles fan. I flew 20 hours to go watch them beat Collingwood in 2018.
All right, look, get on with it. Okay, they got.
You can't win them all. You can't win them all.
Agreed. If they sign big 6'10" Coxzilla, I will immediately become a fan of their team as soon as it happens.
Look, I understand the Mason Cox love, but I think we need to move on, and you really need to look at some Nick Natanui highlights. West Coast Eagles.
That's what they say, Nick Natanui there. I need to.
US guy?
I don't know.
No, he is not.
Cox is the only American that's
So
over
you're
there.
slandering this guy's slandering the US?
No, Nick Natanui is the most exciting player in the AFL. If you take one look at his photos and highlights, you will see.
I have watched his highlights. He's pretty
Is this the guy with the mullet, number 44?
No, dreads.
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 This is a guy you want coming off the bus
6'7",
first.
230.
6'7", 230?
Beast.
Monster.
Yeah, beast.
And this is the West Coast squad?
Yeah, it's the Eagles.
West Coast Eagles.
Well, maybe we'll see you in the grand final, pal. All right.
We'll see.
What did you think of Lombardi's breakdown earlier of the AFL teams?
He's close, but a few things he's missed. So the Western Bulldogs aren't from the West Coast of Australia. They're actually from the western counties of Melbourne.
Okay, all right, so that's a little bit off, I guess. That's potentially...
He missed it by about 5,000 miles. but Australian rules is a bit confusing because there's actually 10 teams that are actually from the Melbourne area. So out of the 18 teams, 10 of them are all within 50 miles of each other.
Oh, that must be nice. That's why I don't like any of those West Coast teams, because they can't just get along with everybody else. It's all packed up in one little bunch over there.
Well, there's always a big West Coast versus East Coast bias, and everyone gets up in arms. And if you're from the West Coast, you hate the East Coast, and this is kind of the way the country works. But no, you need to jump on the Eagles bandwagon.
East Coast don't got no love for the West Coast. Seems like we're at the Source Awards again. You know what I mean? Back in the day.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg up there, Suge Knight, everybody was getting down. Some people died. That's not as serious in the AFL, but I assume they do take it a bit serious. Hey, Luke, I appreciate you so much, man. Hopefully nobody dies. I'm pulling for your West Coast squad.
Yeah, we know deep down you're not, but I can't do any of that.
We should have that guy call back again.
He's good.
I like that guy a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, he's only off by 5,000 miles. All right, this has been the show. Come back an hour and 2.5 minutes. Undertaker joins AJ Hawk and I for a conversation about all types of stuff. Can't wait to see what happens there. It should be a must watch. He's been doing a media round, so you've probably seen him do an interview somewhere. He's been everywhere because The Last Ride, the documentary that the WWE Network is releasing, the final episode this Sunday, 10 a.m., has been must watch. They have behind the scenes footage of his life, his decision to retire. He's been in wrestling for like 75 years. I mean, this is going to be a good conversation. I can't wait for it. And if you haven't seen The Last Ride, I would recommend you do so at WWE Network. And we'll see you then with The Undertaker. This has been the Pat McAfee Show, Thursday, June 18th. Go Pies. Go Pies.